Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen at 3 p.m. staring into the refrigerator with that familiar brain fog creeping in. Your thoughts feel like they're moving through thick molasses. You can't remember why you walked into the room. The word you were searching for just vanished into thin air. You grab a quick snack thinking it'll help, but 20 minutes later you feel even worse. Your focus is shot, your mood has crashed, and you're wondering if this is just what getting older feels like. But what if I told you that this mental decline isn't inevitable? What if the very food you're reaching for to fix the problem is actually the root cause of your brain's destruction? What if there's one specific ingredient hiding in nearly everything you eat that's literally shrinking your brain cells, disrupting your memory formation, and accelerating cognitive decline faster than aging ever could? You see, millions of Americans are experiencing what feels like premature dementia, and they have no idea why. They're sharp, successful people who suddenly can't concentrate during meetings. They're forgetting names, losing keys, struggling to find words. Their doctors run tests and find nothing obviously wrong. But here's what those tests aren't revealing. There's a silent assassin in the modern food supply that's systematically dismantling the most sophisticated organ in your body. This isn't about genetics or bad luck. This isn't about inevitable aging. This is about a single dietary component that's been weaponized by the food industry to keep you coming back for more, even as it destroys your brain's ability to function. The most terrifying part? The damage is cumulative and often irreversible by the time symptoms appear. Every day, without knowing it, you're likely consuming this brain destroyer multiple times. It's in your morning routine, your afternoon pick-me-up, your evening comfort food. It's disguised as healthy options, hidden in foods you'd never suspect. And while you're focused on avoiding obvious junk food, this silent killer is working around the clock to dismantle your cognitive function. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to know about this connection because there's no profit in prevention. The food industry certainly doesn't want you to understand how they've engineered products to bypass your brain's natural satiety signals. But the science is crystal clear, and once you understand what's happening inside your skull every time you consume this ingredient, you'll never look at food the same way again. Your brain is under attack right now, and the weapon isn't coming from some external threat. It's coming from your own choices. Choices that have been carefully manipulated by billion-dollar industries that profit from your confusion and decline. But here's the thing. Once you identify the enemy, you can fight back. And the results can be absolutely life-changing. So what is this brain destroyer that's hiding in plain sight? What's causing this epidemic of mental fog, memory loss, and cognitive decline that's affecting people decades before it should? The answer is going to shock you, but more importantly, it's going to empower you to take back control of your mind. The real culprit behind this cognitive catastrophe isn't what most people think. It's not cholesterol, it's not saturated fat, and it's not even the processed foods themselves. The true brain destroyer is sugar, but not just any sugar. We're talking about the refined, concentrated, chemically processed sugar that floods your bloodstream like a tsunami and triggers a cascade of neurological damage that begins within minutes of consumption. Think of your brain like a finely tuned Formula One race car. It requires premium fuel, precise timing, and optimal conditions to perform at its peak. Now imagine flooding that engine with low-grade gasoline mixed with sand. That's exactly what happens when refined sugar hits your brain. Your neurons, which normally communicate through elegant electrical signals, suddenly find themselves drowning in a toxic soup of glucose and inflammatory compounds. Here's what's happening inside your head right now. Your brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each one connected to thousands of others through intricate pathways called synapses. These connections form your memories, process your thoughts, and control every aspect of your consciousness. But refined sugar acts like a biochemical wrecking ball, disrupting these delicate connections through a process called glycation. When you consume refined sugar, your blood glucose levels spike dramatically, often reaching levels 3 to 4 times higher than your brain can safely handle. This glucose surge causes your brain's proteins to literally caramelize, just like sugar browning in a hot pan. These caramelized proteins, called advanced glycation end products, accumulate in your brain tissue and create a sticky, inflammatory mess that prevents neurons from communicating effectively. Picture rush hour traffic in Manhattan, but instead of cars, it's electrical signals trying to navigate through your brain. Normally, these signals flow smoothly along well-maintained neural highways. But sugar damage is like a massive construction zone that forces traffic into chaotic detours. Messages get delayed, connections get lost, and eventually entire neural pathways shut down completely. The inflammation triggered by sugar consumption is particularly devastating to your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for forming new memories. Studies show that people who consume high amounts of refined sugar have hippocampal volumes that are significantly smaller than those who limit their intake. We're literally watching brains shrink in real time on MRI scans. But here's the most insidious part. Your brain becomes addicted to this destructive cycle. Sugar triggers the release of dopamine in the same reward pathways activated by cocaine and heroin. Your brain learns to crave the very substance that's destroying it. If you found this information eye-opening, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're just getting started on this journey to reclaim your cognitive health. The damage doesn't stop with memory formation. Chronic sugar consumption creates what neuroscientists call brain insulin resistance, where your neurons lose their ability to respond to insulin signals. This is essentially type 2 diabetes of the brain, and it's now being recognized as a primary driver of Alzheimer's disease. Now let's talk about the devastating mistakes that millions of people make every single day. Mistakes that accelerate brain damage without them ever realizing it. These aren't obvious errors like eating candy bars for breakfast. These are seemingly innocent choices that have been marketed as healthy alternatives, but they're actually some of the worst offenders when it comes to brain destruction. The first major mistake is believing that natural sugars are somehow safe for your brain. Agave nectar, honey, maple syrup, and fruit juices are often promoted as healthy alternatives to white sugar. But here's the shocking truth. They can be even more damaging to your cognitive function. Agave nectar, for instance, contains up to 90% fructose, compared to table sugar's 50%. Fructose bypasses your brain's normal satiety signals and goes straight to your liver, where it's converted into fat and inflammatory compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier and wreak havoc on your neurons. When you drink a glass of orange juice thinking you're getting vitamin C and natural goodness, you're actually consuming the equivalent of 8 to 10 oranges worth of sugar without any of the fiber that would normally slow its absorption. This creates a glucose tsunami that floods your brain with inflammatory compounds and triggers the same addictive pathways as processed junk food. The second mistake is falling for the whole grain marketing trap. Foods labeled as whole grain or multigrain often contain hidden sugars and refined carbohydrates that spike your blood sugar just as dramatically as candy. That whole wheat bread you're eating for lunch? It often has a glycemic index higher than table sugar, meaning it raises your blood glucose levels faster and higher than if you just ate a spoonful of sugar directly. Many people think they're making healthy choices by eating granola, energy bars, and yogurt with fruit on the bottom, but these products are sugar bombs in disguise. A single cup of flavored yogurt can contain more sugar than a can of soda. Those healthy granola bars often pack 15 to 20 grams of various sugars, creating the perfect storm for brain inflammation and cognitive decline. The third mistake is timing. Even if you're consuming moderate amounts of sugar, eating it at the wrong times can amplify the damage exponentially. Consuming sugar first thing in the morning when your cortisol levels are naturally high creates a double inflammatory hit that can impair your cognitive function for the entire day. Late-night sugar consumption disrupts your sleep architecture, preventing your brain from entering the deep sleep stages necessary for memory consolidation and toxin removal. The fourth mistake is ignoring liquid calories entirely. Smoothies, sports drinks, flavored coffee beverages, and even seemingly innocent coconut water can deliver massive sugar loads directly to your bloodstream. Because liquids empty from your stomach faster than solid foods, they create even more dramatic blood sugar spikes and subsequent crashes. The fifth mistake is believing that artificial sweeteners are a safe alternative. While they don't directly spike blood sugar, many artificial sweeteners disrupt your gut microbiome, which communicates directly with your brain through the gut-brain axis. This disruption can lead to increased inflammation, altered neurotransmitter production, and impaired cognitive function through entirely different pathways than sugar itself. To understand why sugar is so uniquely destructive to your brain, we need to dive into the fascinating world of neurochemistry and see exactly what happens when glucose molecules encounter your delicate neural tissue. Think of your brain as the world's most sophisticated computer, but instead of running on electricity alone, it operates on a complex network of chemical signals and electrical impulses. Your neurons communicate through synapses, tiny gaps between brain cells where chemical messengers called neurotransmitters carry information from one cell to another. This process requires incredible precision, like a perfectly choreographed dance where timing and balance are everything. But when refined sugar enters this equation, it's like throwing a wrench into the gears of a Swiss watch. Here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain has its own specialized glucose transport system, designed to provide steady, controlled fuel to your neurons. Under normal circumstances, glucose crosses the blood-brain barrier through specific transporters that carefully regulate how much sugar reaches your brain tissue. But when you consume refined sugar, especially in large quantities, this system becomes overwhelmed. Imagine your brain's glucose transporters as careful security guards at an exclusive club, checking IDs and maintaining order. But when a sugar rush hits, it's like a mob of unruly partygoers storming the entrance all at once. The security system breaks down, and chaos ensues inside your neural nightclub. This glucose flood triggers a process called oxidative stress, where your brain cells start producing dangerous molecules called free radicals faster than they can neutralize them. These free radicals are like microscopic vandals, damaging cell membranes, corrupting DNA, and disrupting the delicate machinery that keeps your neurons functioning properly. But here's the most insidious part. Sugar doesn't just damage individual brain cells, it disrupts the entire communication network. Your neurons rely on a process called long-term potentiation to strengthen connections and form memories. This is literally how learning happens at the cellular level. But sugar-induced inflammation interferes with this process, making it harder for your brain to form new memories and maintain existing ones. The inflammatory response triggered by sugar consumption is particularly devastating because your brain has very limited ability to repair itself compared to other organs. While your liver can regenerate and your skin can heal from cuts, brain tissue has minimal regenerative capacity. When neurons die from sugar-induced inflammation, they're often gone forever. Research has shown that people who consume high-sugar diets have measurably smaller brain volumes, particularly in areas associated with memory and executive function. We're talking about actual visible shrinkage that can be seen on brain scans. It's like watching your most precious organ slowly dissolve from the inside out. The blood-brain barrier, which normally protects your neural tissue from harmful substances, becomes increasingly permeable when exposed to chronic sugar consumption. This allows inflammatory compounds and toxins that should never reach your brain to cross over and cause additional damage. Now comes the revelation that's going to change everything you thought you knew about brain health and nutrition. The shocking truth is that the food industry has known about sugar's devastating effects on cognitive function for decades, but they've deliberately hidden this information while simultaneously engineering products to maximize your consumption of this brain-destroying substance. Internal documents from major food corporations, released through litigation and investigative reporting, reveal a coordinated effort to suppress research linking sugar consumption to cognitive decline. These companies hired the same scientists and PR firms that the tobacco industry used to cast doubt on the link between smoking and cancer. They funded studies designed to shift blame away from sugar and onto other dietary components like fat and cholesterol. But here's what they didn't want you to know. Sugar addiction is real, measurable, and more powerful than most people realize. Brain imaging studies show that sugar triggers the exact same reward pathways as cocaine, heroin, and other addictive drugs. The food industry has exploited this neurochemical vulnerability to create products that are literally irresistible to your brain. They've discovered the bliss point, the precise combination of sugar, salt, and fat that triggers maximum dopamine release and keeps you coming back for more. Every processed food you see on supermarket shelves has been engineered by teams of food scientists to hit this neurochemical sweet spot, ensuring that you'll crave their products even as they destroy your cognitive function. The most disturbing part is how they've infiltrated foods you'd never suspect. That healthy, whole-grain cereal contains more sugar per serving than cookies. That sports drink marketed to athletes delivers a glucose bomb that would make a candy manufacturer blush. Even savory foods like pasta sauce, salad dressing, and bread are loaded with hidden sugars designed to trigger addiction pathways in your brain. Modern food processing has created forms of sugar that are more concentrated and more rapidly absorbed than anything humans evolved to handle. High fructose corn syrup, for instance, bypasses your brain's natural satiety mechanisms entirely. Your body doesn't recognize it as food in the traditional sense, so you can consume massive quantities without ever feeling full or satisfied. The average American now consumes over 150 pounds of sugar per year, compared to just 4 pounds per year in 1700. We've gone from occasional treats to constant bombardment, and our brains simply weren't designed to handle this assault. The result is an epidemic of cognitive decline, depression, anxiety, and attention disorders that directly correlates with our increased sugar consumption. What makes this even more tragic is that the damage is largely preventable and in many cases, reversible. Your brain has an incredible capacity for healing and regeneration when given the right conditions. But first, you need to understand what actually works to restore cognitive function and protect your neurons from further damage. The solution isn't just about eliminating sugar, though that's certainly a crucial first step. It's about understanding how to nourish your brain with the specific nutrients and compounds it needs to repair damage and optimize function. Your brain requires a steady supply of healthy fats, particularly omega-3 fatty acids, which make up a significant portion of your neural tissue. Wild-caught fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel provide EPA and DHA, the two most important omega-3s for brain health. These fatty acids literally rebuild damaged cell membranes and reduce inflammation throughout your nervous system. If you're not eating fish regularly, a high-quality fish oil supplement can provide similar benefits, but make sure it's been tested for purity and potency. Antioxidant-rich foods act like a cleanup crew for your brain, neutralizing the free radicals created by sugar damage. Blueberries, blackberries, and dark leafy greens contain compounds called anthocyanins and flavonoids that can actually reverse cognitive decline. Studies show that people who eat berries regularly have measurably better memory function and slower rates of cognitive aging. Healthy fats from sources like avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil provide your brain with the raw materials it needs to produce neurotransmitters and maintain healthy neural connections. Your brain is nearly 60% fat. So the quality of fats you consume directly impacts your cognitive function. Timing your meals is just as important as what you eat. Intermittent fasting, even in modest 12 to 14-hour windows, triggers a process called autophagy, where your brain cells literally clean house and remove damaged proteins and cellular debris. This natural detoxification process is crucial for maintaining cognitive function as you age. Specific nutrients can accelerate brain healing dramatically. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces inflammation while promoting the growth of new neural connections. Lion's mane mushroom contains compounds that stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, literally encouraging your brain to grow new neurons. Magnesium is perhaps the most underrated brain nutrient. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, many of which are crucial for cognitive function. Most people are deficient in magnesium, and supplementing with highly absorbable forms like magnesium glycinate can improve memory, reduce brain fog, and enhance overall mental clarity. Sleep optimization is absolutely critical for brain recovery. Your brain's glymphatic system, which removes toxins and waste products, is most active during deep sleep. Poor sleep quality can undo all the benefits of a perfect diet, so prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is non-negotiable for cognitive health. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 45-year-old marketing executive who came to realize that her declining cognitive function wasn't just stress or aging. For months, Sarah had been struggling with what she called mental quicksand. She'd sit in client meetings and find herself unable to access words that should have been right there. Her once sharp analytical mind felt cloudy and slow. She'd walk into rooms and forget why she was there. Most troubling of all, she was making mistakes at work that were completely out of character. Sarah's day typically started with a large coffee loaded with flavored syrup and a whole grain muffin from the shop downstairs. She thought she was making a reasonable choice compared to donuts or pastries. Lunch was often a salad with low-fat dressing, a piece of fruit, and maybe a granola bar for an afternoon snack. Dinner was usually something quick and convenient, often pasta with jarred sauce or a frozen meal marketed as healthy. On paper, Sarah's diet looked relatively clean. She wasn't eating obvious junk food or drinking soda. But what she didn't realize was that her healthy choices were delivering massive sugar loads throughout the day. That muffin contained 35 grams of sugar. The coffee syrup added another 20 grams. The granola bar packed 18 grams. Even the pasta sauce contained 12 grams of added sugar. By the end of each day, Sarah was consuming over 100 grams of sugar, most of it hidden in foods she considered nutritious. The turning point came when Sarah's sister, a nurse, suggested she try eliminating all forms of added sugar for 30 days. Sarah was skeptical but desperate enough to try anything. The first week was brutal. She experienced headaches, irritability, and intense cravings that felt almost unbearable. But she pushed through, replacing her usual breakfast with eggs and avocado, swapping pasta for zucchini noodles, and choosing whole foods over processed alternatives. By week 2, something remarkable began to happen. The mental fog that had plagued Sarah for months started to lift. She noticed she could think more clearly during morning meetings. Her energy levels became more stable throughout the day, without the dramatic peaks and crashes she'd grown accustomed to. By week 3, colleagues were commenting on how sharp and focused she seemed. The transformation continued over the following months. Sarah's memory improved dramatically. She could recall client details, project specifics, and creative ideas with a clarity she hadn't experienced in years. Her mood stabilized, her sleep improved, and she found herself more creative and productive than she'd been in over a decade. When she returned to her doctor for a follow-up appointment 6 months later, her inflammatory markers had dropped significantly, and her cognitive testing scores had improved by over 40%. Sarah's story isn't unique. Thousands of people are discovering that the cognitive decline they attributed to aging or stress was actually sugar-induced brain damage that can be reversed with the right dietary changes. The brain's capacity for healing and regeneration is truly remarkable when we stop poisoning it and start providing the nutrients it needs to thrive. The most important thing to understand is that cognitive decline is not inevitable. Your brain fog, memory problems, and difficulty concentrating aren't just part of getting older. They're symptoms of a system under attack, and you have the power to stop that attack and begin the healing process. The science is clear. When you eliminate the foods that damage your brain and embrace those that nourish it, remarkable transformations become possible. Your brain is the most sophisticated organ in the known universe, capable of creativity, love, innovation, and profound thought. It deserves better than the constant assault of refined sugars and processed foods that have become the foundation of the modern diet. Every meal is an opportunity to either heal your brain or damage it further. The choice is entirely in your hands. Think about where you want your mind to be in 5, 10, or 20 years. Do you want to maintain the sharp, clear thinking that allows you to fully engage with life? Do you want to remember the faces of your grandchildren and the stories of your youth? Do you want to continue learning, growing, and creating throughout your entire life? These aren't unrealistic expectations. They're the natural birthright of a brain that's been properly cared for. The path forward is clear. Start by reading every food label and eliminating products with added sugars. Focus on whole, unprocessed foods that your great-grandmother would recognize. Prioritize healthy fats, antioxidant-rich vegetables, and high-quality proteins. Give your brain the deep, restorative sleep it needs to repair and regenerate. And remember that every positive choice you make is literally rewiring your neural pathways for better health and cognitive function. If this information has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers in your diet and the incredible potential for brain healing, I want you to take action right now. Share this video with someone you care about who might be struggling with cognitive issues. Leave a comment below telling me about your own experiences with brain fog or memory problems. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos that could transform your health and change your life. Your brain is counting on you to make the right choice. Don't let the food industry's profit margins determine the quality of your cognitive future. Take back control, embrace the foods that heal, and discover just how amazing your mind can truly be.